Hey y'all, welcome back to Church Street. This is the podcast of First Grapevine Methodist Church, and we are excited to get to be here with you. If you heard our previous episode, you got to hear from our contemporary worship leader, Gary Edwards, as he told us about this amazing experience that he had in New York City. And today we are going to follow up on that conversation. One of the things I was so proud of from our church was each week that the show was running, whether it was a lay person or a staff member of the church, we had somebody there at least one show every single week. And that is something to applaud and be grateful for. So this morning, or not this morning, right now, rather, whenever it is that you're listening to this, we're going to let Gary ask the questions to some of the people who got to come and see the show. So my name is Zach Stiefel. I'm the senior pastor here at First Grapevine. I'm joined by our pastor, Keva Green, and our family ministries director, Sandy Robinson. We've got Gary Edwards, of course, our contemporary worship leader, and then off camera, we have Paul Beals, our production manager. And speaking for all of us, we're grateful to be here with you. So Gary, I'm gonna hand it over to you from here.
Cool beans. I want to first start this by saying, I think I said this prior, but I want to say it again. Thank you to any and everybody who made the trip to New York to support that that musical. That was it meant a lot to me to see people from my church family in the audience. They're supporting the musical, and not just the musical, but myself. And so I just want to say again to any and all, thank you. Thank you so much. You could have been anywhere in the world and you chose to be there. So I thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's start interviewing. Usually I'm never on the other side of this half the time. I'm always the one being interviewed. So I got some questions, and I'm going to start off by this one. This question was actually a question that we got the first day of rehearsals, and it was right at the end, and our beautiful director Gabe asked us this. He said, if you only had 38 minutes to live, how would you spend it? I prefaced that with the play This Is Not a Drill, the musical This Is Not a Drill that I was in, to give you some background on it. If I'm not mistaken, every island in Hawaii was underneath a atomic bomb attack. And when they got the alert that they thought was real, it also alerted them that they had roughly around 35 to about 40 minutes before those bombs hit. And so if you can only imagine the panic of, I have 40 minutes, if you're a parent, I have 40 minutes roughly to package my entire life and call my kids or be with my kids or call my husband, or if you're not married, if you have grown children, to try to attempt to reach them. If I'm not mistaken, the director said that the phone lines were down and it was hard to get contact with people. So not with that in mind, but if you only had 38 minutes, how would you spend it? And I'll open up that.
Wow. That's a great question.
That's a great question.
All right, who wants to go first?
I would definitely spend it with my family. I have, right away it made me think about when my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and it was really bad. The hospital was kind enough to tell us that if it was their parent, they would send her home, take her home and enjoy that time. And we did that, and for 6 weeks, which is way longer than 38 minutes. But I can think of 38 minutes where we were all on her bed. And I mean, my kids flying in from Texas, and those are some of the best times I had with her and with them. So that's what I would want. I would want to be just surrounded by them, if it meant on my bed or on the couch or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How about you, Keva?
Oh, I'm the same way. It would just be, sharing the love with those that are close to me. And, my kids are grown, so it'd be trying to reach out to them, but I'm not sure I could reach, if the phones were dead and all that stuff. I'd reach out to them any way I could. But if not, then I would want to just share the love as much as I could with those that were in front of me, thinking, if this is the end, that God put me at this place, and these are the ones I need to love, which kind of brings to mind, if that's true, if we'd do it, if it was our last 40 minutes, then why wouldn't we do it that way all the time? So But it also reminds me of the fact that we're preaching from Jonah right now. And this last week, it was chapter 3 where Jonah goes to Nineveh, and his entire sermon is, you've got 40 days before Nineveh will be overthrown. And, thinking about if it's 40 minutes or if it's 40 days, what are we going to do? And hopefully, God's the first thing we turn to. Mm-hmm. But then after that, it's trying to get things right and care for others and so forth. So
yeah, that's awesome. My thought goes to the same of I would want to spend that time with Cheryl and our girls and really anybody that has made such an impact on me, on us, those who have helped show grace when I needed grace the most, those who have I know have been lifting me in prayer, those people who have simply been shaping me. And yeah, just to let those people know that they're loved. Yeah. And yeah, that's that last few minutes, whatever that would look like, I think that's where I would want to be.
Nice. I know that's a heavy question to start.
That was.
But
you threw me on that one.
Yeah. It was the day he asked that, like I said, it was the first day, and we were all getting to know each other. Everybody was all happy. And then he throws that, and then it was just tears. And of course, you're in a room full of actors. So all of our questions, all of our answers are over the top. I'd call my friend and talk to his dog and put him on like it was, but these were real answers that we took the time to plot out like in 5-minute increments how we would do this. And it was a really fun question, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of those 2 weeks that we spent rehearsing for this. It kind of put in perspective how dire the people of Hawaii were. And it's kind of spectacular that the outcome was the outcome. Mm-hmm. So with something a little bit more higher in spirit, I'm going to ask, what was your favorite scene from This Is Not a Drill? What was your favorite scene? There's a couple of them, and I'll preface in the beginning, you kind of had this, you're getting to know the families and things of that nature. And then you kind of meet some of the dynamics of each character and their dynamics, and then you meet my favorite person on the planet, the anonymous button guy, and what he brings to the table. But out of all those things, especially as we move through the end, is the character interactions. Is there a favorite scene or a favorite line that stood out to you that either you took home and was like, man, that's interesting, or made your side hurt from laughing, or made you cry? Mm-hmm.
When you and I want to call her Agatha. I know that's the wrong name. Please don't tell her.
What was her name?
Amelia.
Aurelia. That's Aurelia.
I'm close. I got the A right. Okay. When you two were just singing real close to each other, and I don't even remember exactly what it was, but you were both singing, and it was a very intimate moment. That was probably my favorite, because what was really cool, folks, I got to tell you this, we were in the front row. I don't think I'll ever be in the front row for anything again, but it was really cool because the emotion was within you two. You could see it and hear it in your voices, and that was probably my favorite.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Second only to the guy in the chair.
The anonymous button.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was funny. I think I know the scene you're talking about. I think we were all in the bunker, and I had just came in from during there having a heart attack, and we began to sing a song by the name of Words. Oh.
And it was a beautiful song, but the two of your voices blending together, and just your acting and
the expressions.
Yeah, being right there together. And us being right there together close. So, yeah, that was great.
Great. Is that also? Or?
Well, that would be up at the top. Another one that meant a lot to me was the guy that helped you around after you were sick.
Matthew.
And you were looking for, and he was trying to help you, and just this perfect stranger. Okay, I'm not going to get teary-eyed. This perfect stranger that comes up, and in this moment, instead of running for his life, he's trying to help you and take care of you, and how glorious that is, instead of just going, hey guy, you're going to die anyway, so I'm going to go find, the people I want to look for, and I'm just going to leave you. Instead, he was taking you around, and the two of y'all going around together, and that was special, just watching that connection.
Yeah.
So
Matthew played the character of Tony. Yeah.
Tony, yeah.
I'm trying to think for me of scenes that you weren't in, because I'm biased to you.
Yeah, no worries. I got you. I feel you.
I guess there was more than one storyline in the show between different people or families that was about more or less returning home.
Mm-hmm.
The woman calling her kids and coming to this realization that she wasn't going to be with her husband. Your character storyline, the main Hawaiian family's storyline, that idea kept coming up of how often do we run away and then come back home?
Yeah.
And that there's always a place for home.
Yeah.
So that sticks out to me. I loved that if that is one of the themes in it, that at the very end that y'all did a song for the audience to be a part of, or to be a contributor in. And I think it gave the same message to those who are in the show or in the crowd of, hey, no matter what it is you are going through, you can still find your way back home and look at a family that you can have even in this setting.
Show Aloha is the name of the song, and aloha means hello and goodbye. And it's a word that honestly, as we were doing the play or practicing and rehearsing, aloha was our main theme of, making sure that no matter who you pass or who you cross or how we rehearse or whatever, you're present within knowing that when I see you, there's a level of endearment, and when you're away from me, there's still a level of endearment. Mm-hmm. And that to me was one of the main themes of this entire situation. I mean, I couldn't imagine being in a space or a place where you're around nothing but strangers, and now you have to somehow come together and be more or less family than friends to get through this. And so that opportunity to show aloha to someone was something that stuck out. So no, that's one of my favorite parts too. Moving on just a bit, what song stuck in your head the most from the musical? I have one for sure.
Okay, well, I really don't. And
really?
No, and part of that is I'm not just real super musical.
I understand that.
And so I didn't go home singing any song.
Gotcha. And that's totally okay. I was funny. I went to go see Great Gatsby while I was in New York, and someone asked me somewhat of the similar question. I was like, I don't know. And I am uber musical. It's like I just enjoyed it. And that's okay to just enjoy it.
I did.
So I understand.
That's where I was.
For me, it'd be the song you sang with Aurelia.
Aurelia, yeah.
Which, would you go ahead and sing it for us right now?
Oh no!
At least a couple lines.
I have to have Aurelia here with me.
Might run into some copyright issues.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It was the song. There were a couple that y'all sang together. I think that you saw the most passion between you two, and the most.
There was a bigger connection.
Mm-hmm. And I would say, the Cincinnati Boys was the funniest to me.
Oh, yeah, Cincinnati Boys was great.
But the idea that from a song perspective, when you and Aurelia were singing together.
For sure.
I don't know the names of them, but there were a couple that was like, whoa, both times.
Yeah.
But the Button Guy was pretty good, too.
That's my favorite song.
I would say
That's my absolute favorite song.
He was fun.
And the production value of him holding the phone in front of his face and it showing up on the screens behind you, that was really good.
It was really fun.
Yeah, that was well done.
Yeah.
So.
Really, really fun. No, I understand that. Okay, moving on. Miss Sandy had to leave us for just a moment. But moving on, what was the relationship that stood out to you the most and why in this? But there was several relationships, whether they were when things were hitting the fan or when you met them up front in that first half of the musical? What relationship stood out to you the most?
I think for me, the one that showed up at the end, and Keva, to your point earlier, the one between you and that guy.
And Tony, Derek and Tony.
Different worlds, different backgrounds, different thoughts, whatever it may have been. But when push came to shove, none of that mattered. Then, to be just a little Methodist for us, that quote from John Wesley that says, even if we don't think alike, can we not love alike? And I saw that represented in y'all's relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably be one of the top ones. But I will say the one, and now I wish I knew all the characters' names. The single one, I think it was probably Holly's part. Was that originally her?
So Jessica, played by Felicia, but the character's name is Jessica.
Okay.
She played the idea of what Holly would have been in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think I could relate to that she had come on this, I hate to say it, vacation, because her husband was having an affair, but her being there and all that she went through and the struggles and even calling back to her kids and calling her mom and all those things and realizing, coming that distance and then for that to happen. And then you're thinking, oh no, right now is when I'd want to be back hugging my kids and loving on them. Yeah. And here I am here. And so, actually that was one that really touched me. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
To give any of our listeners a little clarity, I know we're throwing out a lot of names, but Holly Dubé is the individual who actually wrote the play and went through the incidents in Hawaii. I know you're probably hearing us say things like the anonymous button guy, so let me give a quick briefing of the characters. The anonymous button guy, there was literally really an anonymous button guy. He was the individual who sent out the false alert. And then there's my character, Derek, and my wife's in the play, Sophie, who's played by Aurelia. Then there was another couple with Matt and Chris Dubé, Holly's son, who played Chris and Tony. And then there was a Hawaiian family there, played by my castmates, Kelvin, Spoon, and Kathleen, which is the Kaleo family. And then, if I'm not mistaken, and then there's Madeline, whom I love dearly.
Oh, yeah.
The leader of the hotel, played by Marianne. Also, other swing actors who played several different roles and had several different wonderful pieces to this. We had Victor, who played at times would play Kaleo and other hotel staff. You had Tisha Vaughn, who also played hotel staff. You had Javi, who also played hotel staff. Bill, who was with us the first half, who also played a bit of hotel staff. And Jessica's husband, who was having the affair, who was then replaced by Douglas, who also played several different roles along with the husband of Jessica. So that gives someone some briefing, just a little bit, just a little background, so you're not like, who are these people? But yes, that's what's going on. Okay, moving right along. Have you ever been in a situation that you believed was the absolute end? In This Is Not a Drill, literally the whole reason for the story is these people thought that this was it. I know for me, I've been in this when I was younger. Well, I was maybe fifth grade, sixth grade. I caught pneumonia and what they believed was a version of scarlet fever. Random.
Yeah.
The most randomest thing you could ever know. Scarlet fever, that you read about that in history books, right? Yeah. And so I remember the last memory of that. I remember my mom coming in my room, literally laying her body over me and praying. And then right after that, because I was so frail, I'm 5th, 6th grade, so I'm a big kid. Mm-hmm. I was so frail, she could literally lift me up and take me and put me into the bathtub full of ice because my temperature stayed at like 102, 103
Yeah.
for like days. And I remember thinking, getting out of that bathtub, I mean, you're sixth grade, so there's not, death is weird, but I remember thinking, who am I going to give my PlayStation to? Like, I remember,
Important question.
but that was, for my sixth grade-year-old self, a way to deal with the idea that I thought I was going to die. Overhearing questions and responses from the doctors that came to the house because I couldn't leave the house. Those were things, and it was a weird feeling. So the question goes to you: have you ever been in a situation where you believe that this was it?
I'll let you go.
I don't know that I have an answer yet, because I don't know that I felt that for me, but I have for others.
And you can, if it's
Yeah.
for someone else. For me, it's a personal question, and it doesn't have to be personal answer.
Yeah. So let me defer to you. I'm not sure I have an answer for it.
I guess maybe not necessarily think it's the end, but thinking this is the end of life as I know it, if that makes sense.
No, it does. 1000%.
I was on a mission trip in 2000, maybe 11, had gone to India. And I think when it probably happened when I was baptizing in a dirty river that apparently got bit by a mosquito and ended up with both dengue fever and chikungunya, the two of them. We flew home a couple of days later, and by the time I was getting on the plane was getting deathly ill, but knew that I didn't want to be in a hospital in India, and so tried to pretend I was okay and could stand up and walk and everything else, and then came home and went in the hospital for about 10 days. And then they diagnosed them and realized that since they were two different things, you couldn't treat one because that aggravated the other and so forth. But it was something that impacted the joints and crippled and everything else, and migraine headaches and dizzy and all this stuff. And so it wasn't necessarily thinking I would die, but when they figured out it was the two of them, the CDC doctor that I was dealing with was so excited because they'd only had like 5 cases in the world at that time of the two of them. And when I asked, so how are they doing? And it was like, well, one's dead, 2 are crippled, and 3 are,
Mercy.
It's kind of like this is not going to be good. And I really kind of thought I'd be crippled because it impacted all your movement. But but God was amazing, and it took 3 years to kind of work, and it was painful and everything else. But there were times that I trusted God enough that I'm going to get back to where I belong. But there were a lot of times that it was, this may be my life of, wheelchair or, not being able to
That's
move
tough.
or, so forth. So it wasn't necessarily into my life. It was just more, I may not run again. I may not do a lot of other things again. So,
Which is tough.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. The concept of how does life as we know it look?
Yeah, yeah. When you're used to always, doing lots of things and athletic things and moving around in the world, and all of a sudden thinking, I may not work again. I may not be able to move. I may not be able to do stuff.
Even taking it to a spiritual level and being on the opposite side of it. So right now I'm reading the Chronicles of Narnia books again, and the book I'm in right now is The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and just got to this scene where Eustace is the name of the character, and he is a little brat, and he's rude, and he's mean, and all of these things, and he gets changed into a dragon in the story, and all he wants is to be himself again. And he finally meets Aslan, the god figure, and it tells him, he's told by Aslan, you need to go step into this water and you'll be made right. And he says, but first you have to undress yourself. And he's a dragon, so he's not wearing clothes, so he realizes he just has to scratch off his scales. And he scratches off his scales, and he notices, well, there's still my skin there. So he tears off his skin, and he gets ready, he walks up to the pond to step in, and he notices, oh, I didn't get it all. So he takes a step back, does the same thing, walks back, and same thing. I didn't get it all. Until finally, Aslan, the god figure, says, let me do it for you, and tears off the rest of it from a deeper level, so that when he goes into the water, he comes back out a different person. It's really beautiful. to see. It's this picture of the old has passed away and the new has come, because he can see the callousness and the old self laying on the ground, and now he knows that he's different. Yeah, that I deferred from the question, but I like that idea of.
I like your answer.
Yeah, yeah. The life as we know it standpoint of, from a physical, yes, but also from a spiritual. How can life be different?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a great answer. Getting a little bit more about myself, and really not myself, but my character. Do you know a Sophie or do you know a Derek? And to give you guys a bit of an understanding of who these characters are when you meet them, Sophie is and Derek are in their mid-50s. Sophie, as done by our character studies, Sophie is a longtime teacher on the verge of retirement. Derek has worked in the automobile business for quite some time, and he just retired. And Derek is going through a bit of a midlife crisis. Sophie is trying to figure out how to stunt her midlife crisis to help her husband out of his. And they're coming back to Hawaii. This is the part that people don't see. They're coming back to Hawaii because that's where they had their honeymoon. They've been married for quite some time, and she figures if we come back here and figure out what got us going in the first place, maybe this will change everything. And so those are the characters. To give a tad bit more so that you can answer well, Sophie deals with a level of insecurity. Insecurity, not just from not feeling loved by her husband, but insecurity at not knowing where she fits anymore in this dynamic. She has a grown child. She has a husband who's struggling, and she's getting ready to end the career that she's only known. Where do I fit? Derek has a problem with purpose. Who he is has been a provider. Who he is has been the king of his household. Not only is he going through a medical issue to where now he's needy. And I don't know if you know anything about, well, I'm sure you do, people who thrive on being the reason for something. But oftentimes their pet peeve is being also the reason for something not working. So people who aren't in it, people who stop working. So now he is his worst nightmare. He's now needing to be dependent, and he's no longer working, so that purpose is gone. And I think I may have said this before, but his son, Raymond, who isn't an actual character, but more just a figure and a theme, has came out to him as being gay, and he does not know how to love him in that way, not realizing that there isn't really a way, you just love. So my question to you is, knowing that backstory, and to the audience as well, do you know a Sophie or Derek, or are you a Sophie or Derek?
Well, I'll jump in there.
Yeah.
Man, the Derek character I recognize, because I've seen that, particularly for people that were real successful in whatever they did when they were younger, and then they got to an age and, maybe even retired or whatever, or just, later on there's somebody else younger that comes in and is the new kid moving up, and but then they're feeling like I'm not who I was. And instead of, growing out of that and saying, what does God have for me next? Where is the Lord leading me? Because I know God's still moving me. They're still trying to hang on to, back in the early times, this is how we used to do things, and they knew that they were a big part of it, and it's tough for them to let go. And yet, and maybe because I've counseled some like that, they turn to other things, drinking or other things, trying to medicate it, but their struggle is, I don't have purpose anymore, and I don't have worth. And they don't recognize, God loves you, and God still has worth, and he probably has something that's just perfect for you at this age. Maybe that's mentoring someone else. Maybe that's, pouring yourself in something else, using those skills that you used to use and pouring them somewhere else. But they're so focused with their eyes back to the past that they're not able to look forward. And it just kind of breaks your heart because they still have such incredible potential. It's not in the same way that
So much
they were
to give.
admired before.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, you have no idea how much of a difference you could make to, you know, a kid in the neighborhood or, you know, a young business person or someone else. You know, don't give up. God still has something for you. So, yeah. So I've seen that quite a few times.
I agree, and I had a very similar answer. I mean, there's a reason the book A Purpose-Driven Life is as popular as it is because we have such a desire for purpose and for meaning, and sometimes it can be hard to find it, and yet we all, whether we recognize it or not, have a purpose that God has for us. I mean, Ephesians 2:10 says we are his workmanship, we are his masterpiece, created for a good work. And that good work could look different in your 20s and 30s than it could in your 50s and your 60s. It's an evolving thing. And so, I think we see that quite a bit of this idea for trying to find what my purpose is in this part of my life.
Yeah. And sometimes we need to learn to let go of things. And, you know, kind of like your example of peeling off the old, but man, you know, we need to be able to see that we need to constantly be moving forward to what God has for us.
This isn't a question that I wrote down, but as you guys were talking, it's a question that popped up and a follow-up. As it pertains to First Methodist Grapevine, how do we help people who have lost their purpose from a God standpoint? I every week when I go up and I lead worship, one of the main things that I think about is somebody's going to come in here either for the first time or for the billionth time trying to figure out why they still come. Why did they show up in the first place? Things have gone so far left that right isn't even an option. So why am I here? And my goal is, whether it be the song that I pick or how I set it up or how I engage or what I say if I see them in passing, is to show that you still being alive is the greatest purpose on the planet. There's so many people who wanted to get up today and they didn't. There's so many people who wanted to put on the clothes and it didn't. And I know that that's a very cliche way of looking at it, but I think that there's purpose in living, just living. Even if I remember being on a basketball team and I was the fat runt for a very long time. You can laugh at that. It's okay.
Well, I laugh because you just described my basketball career.
I was the fat runt, and I remember one of the coaches pulling me to the side and being like, "You look so sad on the bench." I was like, "Because I don't get any play time." And he was like, "Have you ever tried encouraging those who did and working at a place and practice that gives your team, because you're still part of this team, gives your team an opportunity to work towards this greater goal? Like, whether you're he said, you still made the team. There was a fatter runt that we could have put you on because there's this level of potential. What I'm looking for is, how do you unlock it?" And so it was the first time I was ever approached with that type of task. And I did that. And I remember the last 5 games of the season, he gave me about 2 to 3 minutes a quarter. And every time he took me out, he would say, give me a fist pump. And he'd say, you keep encouraging people. You keep getting stronger. You keep it within your heart, within yourself.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I was thankful to God that I grew 6 inches the next summer. But
I never found that part of the game.
I didn't grow much, but where I am now, I stayed for forever. But I was very thankful.
Well, to answer your question, I think we're really blessed to have a church that has a lot going on. And there's a lot of different areas to do and to serve, and even a lot of space to say, hey, I think this is a good idea, and to have the avenue to do it. And Keva, this is actually something I think you were very good at, is recognizing in people, hey, you might fit in really good here. After a conversation that you have with them, I've heard you say it countless times of, well, I think this person would serve well in this spot. And so when it pertains to First Grapevine, one, I think don't be afraid to look for places that you could serve. But 2, don't be afraid to have the conversation, whether it's with you or with me or anybody here, because chances are you will be able to connect with somebody who wants to listen and somebody who can help you find a place where you can find connection to.
Yeah. Well, and I think, we've been encouraging people to keep their eyes open for where they see God moving around. And I think that's a key for a lot of people to recognize their purpose, because they'll recognize those things that stand out for them of, I pay attention to those single mothers, or I pay attention to those people that are struggling with certain health issues, or different things. But if they're always constantly watching and they're seeing God move in certain ways, that may be part of what God's calling them to get involved with. And even if you haven't figured out exactly what your purpose is, I love your part about encouragement, because I think all of us can go along beside other people. We can't all have the certain positions. You can't all be out on the court, playing basketball. But you can encourage, and same thing with at least walk beside everyone else and try to love and encourage them in whatever way that they are doing it, serving God and serving others. And in that, I think things will open up and you'll feel like, oh, okay, I think I hear God speaking to me, saying, I'm not supposed to be doing what that person's doing, but by watching them and encouraging them, that I'm noticing other areas that touch me, that I can see that's what God's telling me I need to do. And so I think we always have opportunities, and God shows us a lot more than we pay attention to, and God speaks to us so much more than we listen. But I think it's putting out that effort to just pay attention. So
I love that. And so that leads me to my last and final question. What was your takeaway from the musical standpoint, but also from a spiritual standpoint, if there was one, from This Is Not a Drill?
From a personal standpoint, it was a lot of just proud of you, honestly, to be very fair. And like I said last week as well, Cheryl and I got to be at the same show that your parents were at.
Oh, yeah.
And it was really fun to see their pride in you. And, I can only imagine as a parent in that setting of seeing your kid doing something that they love on a stage like that. That had to have been incredible. And I felt that just visiting with them. So from a personal standpoint, had to be that. Had to be that. And just like I said, from the spiritual standpoint, and I like how you that helped frame that of aloha means both hello and goodbye. And there's a spot for aloha in a lot of different areas in life. And being able to place and pick what aloha you're using.
Very good. Part of mine would be, the show was really, it started out, it was different family units, telling those separate stories, but then they came together at the time. And I think that's kind of a good thing for us to hang on to, of none of us, the saying about no one is an island, none of us live life on our own, and even those people that think, well, I don't have a family living right with me, well, but you go to the grocery store and you have a clerk and you have somebody here and, the contractor that comes to your house. And we have so many opportunities to make relationships and to make a difference in other people's lives. And so that idea of coming together, and I think last time when y'all visited, you talked about how close the whole cast got. And it was like a family unit. And I think it's kind of the same way for like our staff for the church. And we work close, but even for our whole church, but it should be for our whole community and everything else, of constantly looking at how we can be there for each other, because none of us stand alone. So.
Yeah.
I love all of those answers, and I'll even answer myself. From a musical standpoint, I loved the thought process, especially with a new musical. New musicals are, when you get something like Rent, when you get something like, Lion King, those are established pieces, and the best bet that you have is trying to fill the shoes of the person that someone fell in love with the first time it was shown, but doing it in your own way. I love the fact and I talked about this in the previous podcast, the level of collaboration, not just amongst the cast, but the directors and the choreographers and the stage people. We all knew, hey, look, everyone's going to have to move the left and the right foot at the same time in order for this to work. And I really appreciated that. But from a spiritual standpoint, what This Is Not a Drill meant to me was my life is not a drill. It is a real alert of Christ is coming soon. And what am I doing in the short time that I have left on this planet to make an impact? It's something that it was with me all the time. It's something that was in my face because of the character that I was playing. And it made me really think about, the thought if he thought about it being too dark and the sun popped up, what happens if he thinks about, not today for Gary? He's all knowing. And so it makes you think, I may not have 38 minutes, but how am I spending my 24 hours?
Yeah.
How am I, when I wake up in the morning, what am I doing to say, okay, God, guide and order my steps.
Yeah.
Move me, shape me, break me, mold me, build me up, make me a place for hope, peace, love, understanding, and faith. And that's something that I don't think in the time that I am now, I could have learned anywhere else outside of going to a completely different place, living on my own, figuring out two totally different states between New Jersey and New York, learning a brand new piece and coming out halfway sane. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing with your time to make this work? But thank you guys for allowing me to interview you. And again, to any and everyone who sent not if you just came, if you sent a text message, if you gave me a high five and told me I'm proud of you before I left, or when you saw me again, thank you. It meant the world. And I pray that in some point in life or in the time that we have together, I can pay 10% of that back.
Yeah.
Well, Gary, let me just say to you that our church really was proud of you. And, it really was wonderful for those of us that had a chance to go. But, every Sunday when you get up there in the contemporary service and you and all the band, are singing with the community choir.
Yes, the community choir, best choir in the land.
Yeah. I mean, it's just worshiping the Lord together like that. And we truly appreciate your leadership. And I personally kind of had a feeling that with you up there in New York and with that cast and everything else, that you were carrying your witness there. So I have a feeling that you probably touched lives in powerful ways that none of us could ever imagine. So, yeah, I'm sure you made a difference there, even though we missed you for a few weeks.
Miss y'all too.
So.
Yeah. Well, Gary, thank you for the time. Thank you for the questions. And Sandy's not here anymore. She had to step out. But thank you, Sandy. Kiva, thank you, of course. And Paul, thanks for what you do.
Thank you,
We're
Paul.
grateful for you. And for you, our listeners, no matter where you find yourself today, know that we are grateful to be with you. And we look forward to seeing you again on Church Street. See you soon.